Welcome to Foundation and Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast for Foundation on Apple TV Plus. This week, we're covering Season 1, Episode 6, Death and the Maiden. Respect and enjoy the podcast. Aaron, I don't know how much I have to say about this episode. It's a lot more action heavy than the previous episodes. So I feel like it's not as much to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot happening. I don't know. I still had a lot of pages of notes. What did you think of this episode?
I mostly like this episode. We get a little bit back to the Empire here, and those are kind of the most thrilling parts for me. You know, the pew pew shootout stuff is fun, but not exactly what I'm in this for. However, religious leaders trying to usurp power from the Imperial leader. Hell yes, sign me up. Those scenes are awesome.
Yeah, I like that stuff. I was a little taken back that we got right back on Gale, and then we went right back away for an entire episode. I really, there's so many, and there's not nothing as far as those developments, but all the developments seem to be at odds with what we learned last episode too. Like,
which is kind of interesting.
I was jaw dropped, pants shat when I found out that Raish himself called an audible on top of the Harry Seldon audible.
Like, a bad time to be calling audibles, yeah, when you're a spiritual leader.
And then this man has a nerve to look at the camera and say, "Trust the plan, man. You can't. You're wiping your ass with the plan." So we need Gale. I feel like this episode. My take from this episode is we need Gale's hand on that wheel to violently jerk it back onto the path of 1,000-year dark ages, or the whole thing's going to be for naught.
No, I talked in the feedback episode last week, or that we just released. I don't know. This is all out of order, but I talked in that episode
Time's
about
a flat circle.
How Gale might be like the guiding force, the corrective force for the plan going forward. And that seems to make a lot of sense because she's the only other one who could interpret psychohistory the way that Harry could. And now that we know she's sort of headed to Harry's homeworld, it's starting to make a little bit more sense that she'd be the guiding force going forward.
And the Anacreon stuff seems to be mapping a little bit more neatly onto some of the plots that I vaguely remember happening from the books. Like, I remember the Salvor Harden being put in a similar predicament as far as like staffing and repairing a derelict warship of some kind that was going to perhaps threaten the balance of power in the Outer Wilds here. So like I can see a little bit, but like as that crystallizes, I feel like the whole Harry Foundation psychohistory plot is just evaporating to mist.
Yeah.
And then, like that's the other thing. It's like we just multiple people talking about, is the Empire okay? We got our answer. The Empire is not okay. We have a colorblind emperor, which either the first 13 Cleons had such massive hubris that they kept this condition from literally everyone, including their latest clone, or we have a defect in a clone. And I also saw a couple other signs in this episode where maybe the Empire isn't okay. Like there's a certain eye twitch to Lee Pace's eye in a particular scene that like, I don't remember the Empire having spasms, like uncontrollable eye spasms before. So we might have a Madness of King George situation on our hand in a few generations.
We could, yeah. Dusk was displaying, let's say, symptoms of some kind of mental duress, mental something happening last episode, 3 episodes ago. Yeah, before he got incinerated. I love the idea that Cleon the painter would have been colorblind and just refusing to tell anyone. He's just throwing shit up on the wall. He doesn't know what he's putting up there. This could be pink. This could be black. I don't fucking know.
The work of Cleon the 13 was widely considered psychedelic, and
painted apples with greens and oranges and yellows. I don't know why.
He's clearly subversive in his use of art and his use of color and shadow in his art. Yeah,
right. That's why nobody's chosen to be the painter. They chose sculptors and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But
okay.
It's a lot. It feels like this feels like one of those the transition episodes where they're trying to position where the next push is going to happen. You know, like, okay, well, we had this interesting thing happen on Terminus. How do we get him off of Terminus and propel the plot forward? We've got this kind of detent amongst the emperors. How are we going to break it? You know, we got there's so much scheming in this episode. Brother Dusk has some kind of scheme. Brother Dawn has some kind of scheme. Brother Day is floundering on the second largest stage in the galaxy. Like, there is and some of it's good. Like, I actually like the Empire, the Dusk and Dawn stuff. The Day stuff felt a little bit shorthand, you know, like you it's weird to see like a political plan, like a West Wing or House of Cards, like smoke-filled dark back room corridor kind of conversation happen in like the middle of a big throng of people, where it's like, well, what's the political stakes here? Well, you know, we got no drinking water. All right. Giant moon desalination plant. Done. 30 seconds. We got this. Yeah. And then that plan that seemed like ironclad is just completely undone by a Kanye West move on behalf of Zephyr Colleen or whatever her name is. She's like, you know, I'm gonna let you finish here, but I just want to say the Empire's got no soul. We all got souls, and God tells us we should rise up against the soulless. Drops the mic and out. So it's like that. I don't know. It felt like there could have been a little bit more room to breathe from all those machinations, but the show's got some place it wants to be. So yeah, when you summarize it like that, it sounds ridiculous. I quite enjoyed that part of the episode. I was, you know, I just felt the impotency of the Emperor here, of Day, right? In those scenes, like he's standing there. What can he do? Because he's not a guy who can deliver off the cuff inspiring speeches to his people. He doesn't fucking talk to his people. He's probably never met one of his people. He's stuffed up in his palace all day, and if he doesn't have the formalities of tradition and, you know, this pomp and circumstance, he doesn't know how to behave. So like, that's the thing. It's not that he doesn't know how to talk to people. It's not that he doesn't know how to talk to people. It's that he doesn't know how to talk to people out of his element. And we've been told in the 400 history people. In the 400-year history of the Empire, no Day has ever set off a Terminus. Right. So like he literally has no experience, you know, trying to do something without the full force of the triune godhead and the whole court retainers and all of his Imperial stormtroopers and all this other. He has no idea how to do that. Like without a reception, without throngs to work with, he's kind of adrift. And without deference to him, I think that's the other thing he's so accustomed to, right? Is that everyone is going to be looking to him to lead this. And when someone else takes the lead, I would have liked to maybe see him try to respond to this in some way, try to, you know, cut Halima's knees out from under her in this speech and then just get totally steamrolled. But I don't know, the way when I was watching it, I was just like, boy, he is really just completely impotent in this moment. And it's kind of awesome. But I don't know. Do I like Halima? I don't know enough about her yet. They also did a good job. They also did a good job of showing that he just like this whole deal where, you know, Demerzel comes off to the side stage and whispers a few like, okay, these people use arrows and there's platinum in them and you need to like without, you know, that kind of and this managed presence where it's like, okay, you're going to have an audience for a minute and off, like real time dealing with this complicated religious homily that's being given. Right. He has because he doesn't understand the religion enough to know what she's saying and how to turn the words the way. And for some reason, his gal just is no better than him. Like she has no idea how to take control over this person that just comes and snatches the mic out of her hand. Like she's kind of trails off. It's like, well, okay, you go off, you know? It was wild to see the Empire that completely helpless to do anything about the situation. Yeah, I really enjoyed that stuff, and I'm excited to see what happens going forward with Terminus. You know, if I don't know, the tension there has been ratcheted up so much that
I don't know how Terminus escapes some kind of wrath that just destroys them, right? I mean, I guess the natural way out here is that Farah and her people are killed, and Salvor and Hugo win the day.
We're on a bad run of science fiction shows depicting scenarios where I have no idea how fucked up things are, like The Expanse. How fucked up is Earth? I still don't really know. Going out of season 5 into season 6, Walking Dead. How fucked up is Alexandria? Like, I kind of know now, but like, and then with this Foundation, how fucked up is the outpost on Terminus? Like, are 90% of the people dead? Are 50% of them dead? The bomb that went off at their energy source vent, is that like, are they doomed now?
Right.
Like,
they just said like at the beginning of that, hey, they're trying to blow this area up. And if they do, we're done. And then they end up blowing it up in an effort to destroy the ship. So it seems like they accomplished their mission for them.
But maybe you had to have a precise placement of the explosives to pull that off, and you didn't. And only one of them went off instead of. Jeez. That's the thing that like I'm like when it first happened, I'm like, oh fuck, you missed the Corvettes, but you did take out the army. And then the land turned to lava and just consumed the Corvettes. I'm like, well, that's gotta. But it looked like their installment, the little I don't know pipeline thing they had was left intact, so maybe they can still. So that's the thing. It's like I don't know what it is in the water that showrunners are just afraid to outright state, or maybe they think they're telling. Like that the Earth is either fucked or fine, or Alexandria is fucked or fine. But that's the big question. Like, I thought they told me the story that kind of Terminus is fucked, but yet it ended in a note of hope that like, hey, if we can just get these crazy people what they want or maneuver them, we'll be back and everything will be right. Even though they've lost, like they showed so many Terminus people being gunned down in the last few episodes.
Yeah, I didn't get a good sense of the scale of Terminus up till now. I don't know if it was 1,000 people or 100 people.
Right.
And so, they could fudge those numbers a little bit for me and I'd be fine. And I think the important part here is to remember that their goal is not to kill everyone at Terminus. Their goal is to get something specific. And the more people they kill willy-nilly beforehand, the higher the chance that they're murdering engineers that they desperately need, right? So they would have an incentive not to kill a lot of people. And I think that's the thing that we didn't really realize when they rushed at Terminus last episode and were firing off like stormtroopers hitting nothing, is they probably don't want to indiscriminately murder people here. They need these people. They need to manifest. People. Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, why are they indiscriminately murdering at all? Because like, what if they just happen to shoot the three people who are
indiscriminate murdering is going to be required, you gotta strike
like, what if
these people? I get you.
But what if you killed all three of the hyperspace navigators that you need? Or, you killed the only quantum engineer that worked on an Imperial jump drive system. It's like, that's where it's like I felt like my first instinct for the last episode, where like the shock troopers of the Anacreons were just deliberately like either using disruptor fire. That's the other thing they could have done. They could have just been using disruptors to like knock people out and intimidate them rather than kill them. But it turns out, no, in the first charge, they just can't hit shit. They have to be within 3 foot range. They have to be within execution range to kill people. And then, boy, they go to work killing people once they get into that range. Men, women, children, it's indiscriminate.
I mean, you can kill children. That's fine. They're not going to be engineers, right?
Yeah, none of them are smart enough to know or strong enough to hold a hydro spanner. Sure,
right. Children. So children are totally expendable.
The full-grown women and men, leave them fuckers alone.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll have to see what the plan going forward with that is. Real quick before we get into the episode, by the time you're hearing this, we should be recording or have recorded our conversation with David Goyer. That will be out early next week. I'm not sure what the day it is. Depends on Jim's workload. Unless you want to chime in and just call your shot here.
Oh, I don't know. We'll talk about it.
It'll be early, either before or after the feedback episode for next week. So, and it should, since we've seen this before, it should contain information up to this episode, so it won't be like stale week old information. So, but yeah, we haven't forgotten about that. We have, again, I'm kind of predicting the future, but we will have compiled your questions and have been talking to him, and we'll get that episode out as a special standalone, I'm sure, because it's planned to go for an hour sometime early next week.
Also, can I just say, this is the first episode that we have had screeners for, and screeners do not include subtitles, infuriatingly. This episode has a lot of like planet names and people's names and
lizard
some
bird
of the
names.
And you've got a robot woman who's speaking in some strange accent that I can't identify or mostly understand half the time. So I might be getting some of these terms wrong or not using the terms because I just don't know them because I didn't get the subtitles. So please forgive us for that. We're going to get through this as best we can.
Pronunciations worse than usual.
Yes.
If you can believe it.
All right, let's get into the recap. We start off with Brother Day headed to meet with the Luminist. He interrupts Demerzel, who's getting ready for the meeting, and asks her what it's like to be awake for the jump. She cannot explain it to a human mind. So then she starts testing him on his knowledge of Luminism and tells him what Luminism means to her, because apparently she's a Luminist as well. And then Day asks about Zephyr Halima, who opposes him, and finds out that she's only been a Zephyr for a year after fleeing her homeworld, which was racked by earthquakes. I think that happened a long time ago, but I don't know. She's relatively new to this leadership stuff within the religion. And I think he thinks that she's just going to be steamrolled by him. She'll be easy to deal
she's
with.
been through actual hardships where he is at a life of being pampered and all that. So
yeah. And then they land on this moon. So
yeah, and I've also seen the episode where she runs circles around him. So this episode. So yeah, that didn't go so well for him. There's a lot to unpack here.
Everything about the Luminist religion. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about something I forgot to talk about last episode. Amongst the questions of Anacreon stormtrooper accuracy, amongst the questions of why Imperial ships don't go into combat zones with their shields up. The other question I had is, these guys came out of hyperspace and immediately hailed people. But even the Empire has to go into his little cryo suit to survive the jump procedure, to not go insane. How does that work on the bridge of an Imperial battleship? Are they just all like kind of webbed up there and they got spacers? Like the first thing to do is like split their face, and he just gets right in the camera and says, "Hey, I need to talk to the facility administrator here." Is that a giant weakness for Imperial battleships, that there's like a couple of minutes of their crew getting out of being destabilized from the jump? In which case it seems super risky to like jump right into some planet's orbit.
Yeah.
I would suggest in seasons going forward, maybe nail some of that stuff down, because I was kind of confused. It seemed like they came out of hyperspace fully armed and functional, yet we see even the Empire, has to go into the cryo sleep like everybody else.
It's true.
We also speculated about the nature of the spacers, the long CGI people that kind of like take care of the ship during the hyper jumps, and it seems like it's like we're kind of both right. They're not robots, they're definitely human, but barely human, and heavily genetically engineered to survive the process.
Soulless. Those are soulless humans.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? They're not seen by the grace of the mother, the maiden, the crone.
Right. Yes, maybe we should talk about that. Or actually, let's talk about the narration. This is the first episode that has a narration at the beginning, I think, but not at the end. So it's not bookended with narration. It just kind of ends. What do you make of what Gale here is saying about this man who, could create and destroy worlds, but she just saw a man who had never known doubt until Harry Seldon.
And now he's known doubt twice because he's met Zephyr Halima. Halima. Yeah, I don't know. This is where I was talking about in the intro, where there's a slight twitch, like when she's given this monologue or given this voiceover, and he's staring at himself in the mirror. As she gets to that point where he's never known doubt until he met Harry Seldon, his eye kind of gets this kind of uncontrollable twitch. Again, showing that maybe the degradation of these clones doesn't stop just with the color blindness of Cleon the 14th. Cleon the 13th, Emperor Day, might have some instability too. It seems like he's a lot more angry, less patient than previous versions of himself. It's fascinating stuff.
I read a letter. So when we got screeners, we also got access to a letter from David Goyer to the people who would be watching those screeners. And one of the things in that letter is how this show is supposed to deliver a message of hope. And every time I look at this show through its lenses, I'm not necessarily seeing that yet. I think we're in the phase of like downfall, right? So I probably won't see that yet. But I think if there's anybody here who embodies hope, it's Harry Seldon. But I found myself in this first, in this opening narration thinking she could be talking about Harry Seldon as well, like creator and destroyer of worlds, the the power to predict the future and keep humanity on a path is essentially what he's doing. A man who had never met doubt. I guess he does doubt it. He has doubted himself from time to time, certainly. But I would argue that he is above the sleeper's words, right? If he's able to correctly see, interpret, and predict the future. Yeah, I'm wondering if these words don't also apply in a way to Harry Seldon, but that wouldn't be very hopeful, right? To have Harry Seldon be equated with the Emperor here.
But it may be in like an equal and opposite kind of way.
It could be, yeah.
But as far as like the lack of hope, I think you're right, because like I found it impossible not to draw a connection between Zephyr Kalima's world that's racked by earthquakes and devastation. She had to flee it with what's going on with Gale's world of Synax, where it's being racked. It seems like maybe everywhere, and why it was overproduction, like why did the earthquakes happen? Why are things destabilizing all over is because of the, economic proposals and policies of the Empire seems likely, or the Empire is so preoccupied with their own opulence and wealth that they don't, there's crumbling infrastructure. Like, how many we've been trying to get an infrastructure deal done in this country for going on 5 fucking years in 2 different administrations, still not done.
Right.
We have out of the 5 bridges in Cincinnati, 2.5 of them are currently closed because they're unsafe to carry the traffic they're doing. So like, yeah, I can definitely plug into despair. I'm not seeing the hope yet, but clearly they're drawing the parallels to today. And then, they gotta have some kind of thesis of how we can get ourselves out of this, something that can bring us all together.
Yeah. And I guess if I look back at episode 1, where Harry's on trial here, his message of hope is that we can reduce the harm, reduce the impact of this, dark ages, this upcoming dark ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do hope that we get around to the hope, because so far I'm just comparing it with what we're doing today and going, boy, that looks bleak.
Well, like I said, they're definitely going to get season 2, so that definitely increases the odds that we're going to get to hope. So I want to talk a little bit more about the Demerzel stuff with the Empire. I thought it was neat because I think Lee Pace is channeling like his inner child throughout the scenes where it's just him and the Demerzel. And the show draws a explicit connection between this when Demerzel says, even as a child, you used to like to watch me prepare. We remember the scene we saw of the young brother Day, who was brother Dawn, watching her repair her clavicle from the brother Dusk visiting the scar.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that, like, when she's giving him his lecture, he's eating that little bowl of soup, and it just everything about him was like kind of childlike. I felt like he was pulling his shoulders in. He was doing all of his skills to kind of like portray being back to that little boy craving this Robo Mama's attention and approval. Mm-hmm. Especially now he's dealing with a matter of her faith, which that kind of blew my mind that this robot has gone in with a humanist religion.
Yeah.
And more than ever, my Demerzel is evil, or at least working at cross purposes of the Empire. Alarms are going off at max volume.
Oh, how could they not be after she, bows in deference to her religion as she's standing right next to her emperor, right?
Ooh, and what does the Emperor say about that next episode? Holy shit.
That's the number one thing I'm looking forward to next episode. There's so much good stuff they're doing here. I mean, this is not something that's uncommon in fiction, but he is literally also eating soup, cereal, whatever he's eating with a golden spoon, which we all understand the metaphor there, right?
Sure.
So yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff here, and they're informing us a lot about the religion too, like its origins. And this is all, you know, couched in the idea that it's sort of a refresher before they land on the planet where he has to interact with these religious people.
And the concept of this religion being truly ancient, like the visible discomfort the Empire has of this thing predating not just the genetic dynasty, but the Empire itself that lasts, you know, it's been around 3,000 years longer, you know, than the Empire itself has. And that is pretty wild concept.
I think that also indicates that the era Imperial did not start, you know, it's not going to start tomorrow, right? It doesn't pick up from modern day because if we're talking 3,000 years
of
before,
yeah.
I seriously doubt that humans are going to colonize some planet in another part of the galaxy in the next 10 years that's going to start up Luminism.
This is where our obsession with RGB lighting goes. It's in another 3,000 years, it morphs into this worship of the three moons and the gods. It's in the Luminist. See, three gods, RGB, they come together as one. I see where they're going. I see where all you fucking PC master race people with your goddamn RGB rigs are going. It's not good. It's going to lead to fanaticism if it hasn't already.
I thought it was going to be the you know, the shit, what's the name of the Arizona city where all the crystals happen? I thought it was going to be
Sedona.
Sedona. I thought it was going to be the salt lamp people who were going to go to this planet and colonize and take over, because man,
they're drinking out of the salt lamps,
right? Taking it too far.
It's not good. But you can also see, because they made it, they kind of if anything, the Empire soft pedaled how violently in disagreement this religion and its core tenets are with the Cleonism, because it wasn't just about the soul stuff. Like this religion is all about relentlessly self-improving and service and enlightenment, where the Cleon is all about, you know, if not stagnation, then stasis, like unchanging stability. And it's you know, growth is not stable.
It makes you wonder how the Empire was able to ever integrate Luminism into its, you know, sort of sphere of influence, right? With a religion that at some point, they make a point that a few episodes ago that Halim is talking about older parts of the religion, right? And it had changed since then under new leadership. But how did they co-opt that in the first place?
I mean, probably the same way they're doing now, payola.
Yeah.
You have, you know, like you got 3 trillion, but there's still 5 trillion people. And you got apparently seems like this is also. It reminds me of a place. It reminds me of a place that's like Palestine, you know, is not like super rich in like resources other than like human capital, but like it's a supremely important place because it's the birthplace of all these Abrahamic religions, right? It's got like it's symbolic importance. This moon seems very, very poor. It's the only inhabited moon in this whole system, and it seems like there was a cataclysm that happened in antiquity that like kind of forced this religion to be the way it is. And it's only important. It's a backwater, can't even feed and water its own people, but it is the birthplace of this religion, so it has outsized importance. Also, this not for nothing, you know, the whole Palestine and the land of Judea was a real thorn in the Roman Empire side. You know, in fact, you could say with Christianity, one of the religions that sprung out of there kind of like co-opted and took the whole place over.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some direct parallels here.
Could be,
because they never go into the religions in this deep, right? Like that, like in those Luminist is created for the show. Yeah. We also finally get to see where all these like matronly figures from, you know, the credit sequence come from. Like, you know, this is like the missing piece of that puzzle, because this is all clearly hinting toward the Luminant stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so then Demerzel wants to join Day when they first meet the Luminist, or doesn't want to join him, but he insists. And the welcoming committee is a party of one, Zephyr Halima, and her and the Emperor trade veiled pleasantries for a bit, and then she leaves.
Calculated disrespect.
Yes. I like this stuff. I like when, the words that people are using are meant to convey, multiple ideas. There's a dual nature to the way they're speaking and a duality to it, right?
But my problem is, as the Empire states, like, how was it that the heretic that is preaching sedition against the Empire is the one that greets him? Like, how... On a planetary level, when you've got the ambassador, when you've got the next in line, like, it's one thing for her to jockey for position and like them all to meet, but like that implies that she's calling the shots in a way that honestly shocks and surprises me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, it makes me wonder if there is a larger conspiracy here, that this is not something that just sort of sprang up out of nowhere, but this is a plan that more than just Zephyr Halima are in on.
Yeah.
It almost have to
be right.
Like, I don't know why she can just petition them to say, hey, can I meet him by myself?
Yeah. And they go like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. You know what? We'll give you some alone time. Maybe you can work all your shit out. Why would they, like, you'd think that, like, maybe there would be not a greeting throng, because that makes a little bit of sense. That's the cover. It's like, well, we're in mourning. You're not going to get your big, emperor occasion. And also, this is unprecedented. What does an emperor reception even look like? Emperor Day, the prime emperor, But yeah, like, why wasn't the ambassador and the other Zephyr there, like, right in tow, like, elbowing each other to try to offer him the cup? And because it's almost like, did they not know he was coming that day? And she just kind of, saw the opportunity. It's like, yeah, like, what complex power exchange happened to let that situation occur? The show doesn't really explain it. It just comments on it.
Not particularly. They do set up that she is particularly persuasive, though, right? Like, they say how charismatic she is. She demonstrates it later in the episode. I think she has a lot of personal power in just her manner and way of interacting with people. So maybe she was just, by force of will, able to convince them that she should do this. But it seems wild.
Yeah, I agree.
So then we go over to Terminus, and we're in the aftermath of the Imperial ship crash here. The Anacreons are on alert as they search for a specific person or set of people, and then they take the commander of the crashed Imperial ship prisoner. And
the first time I watched this, it was... I objected to this guy surviving the crash. I'm like, I wanted to find, like, I expected them to find him in some kind of energy cocoon that they would, like, disable and then take him prisoner. I didn't expect him to be crawling, bleeding from the crash. But on my second watch, I noticed that there's this, like, he's crawling through this long furrow that terminates in this, like, wrecked ball. I think you're supposed to understand that the commander is able to eject and survive, but, like, literally no one else. Like, there weren't multiple escape pods, but I think you're supposed to understand that he made it to an escape pod and ejected. Still fucked him up.
The captain's supposed to go down with the ship. What happened to that?
I don't think this is this kind of culture.
Okay.
I think you have, like, to go back to our discussion about the great man theory. I think you've got great men and women in this universe, and then you got the masses that are completely replaceable. Oh, you're going to die. Well, good thing we got 8 trillion more of you.
Yeah.
You can replace their memories, flash insert memories. Like, you can literally, like, oh, we've lost a helmsman, pull one out of the cryo freezer and flash the helmsman program into them. It's good. We're good to go.
So the Anacreons are still shooting people in town, as they're one of the kids that we've met before. I don't know his name, is hiding from them. He's
Polly, right?
Polly?
Yeah, Polly and Chia are the two.
Okay. He's found by his friend Chia, I guess, and they take shelter.
Yeah.
Take shelter in the air vents, as we'll find out later.
She is the one that offered her boobs in exchange for getting the furthest to the vault in episode 1.
Correct. Farah tells her people to take the manifest and find engineers and then contact another one of their teams to get the Corvettes ready for launch. There's some discussion here about Invictus, which, will spill out to the kids' ears at some point. And they're running a little bit behind schedule. And Farah tells one of her guys, hey, we'll kill Salvor once we know that we don't need her, essentially, because she might be the key to the vault. And the vault's unknown. So, yeah, in any control you might have over the vault, try and preserve that, because we don't know what it does.
Yeah. It's the worst sort of unknown. The one that can knock you the fuck out just for walking up too close to it.
Yeah, they fly pretty close to it. I was thinking for a second that she was going to pull the same trick.
She's going to pull the same okey doke. Just hover right over that. Everybody passes out. And then then Farah wakes up. Shit. She's chained to another.
Yeah, why not?
You got another eyeball, lady? You got another one? I'm going to go ahead and pop it out of your skull right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else to say about this scene? All this action stuff that's happening on Terminus is not like.
I just like we talked about. I'll since we're here at the scene, I will renew my objection to. I don't understand why the Anacreons are running around killing people willy nilly. Because until they have the manifest and they know that they've got it seems like it's pretty reckless. Unless this is all. Unless these are all black disruptors, but I don't think so. I think people are getting pasted.
I think so. I mean, when Hugo gets shot, isn't there actual blood that comes out of him that we see?
I think so. And also that one kid, the one person who tried to rescue the kid got hit by a mortar or some shit. He looked like full body explode. So yeah, people are dying out here.
For sure.
Good thing you didn't kill all the environmental engineers, Farah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is something that thematically I think is of a piece with last week's episode. The thing about knowledge, right? Knowledge being the most noble of pursuits, and
sure,
that's the thing they're pursuing here, right? It's they have the equipment, they have the ships they need. What they don't have is the knowledge to use that stuff. And I think they're not using it for altruistic or noble pursuits here, but the knowledge being the key, I think is of a piece with last episode.
Yeah, and the Anacreons make that explicit. Say we don't have the knowledge and skills we need.
Yeah.
To lead us out of our death and destruction cycle. We have no way to jumpstart to rebirth because we just don't have the things we need.
So then Farah interrogates Lewis and Salvor's mom to get information on the crew. Salvor's mom realizes what she's doing, but they already have what they need, so she orders the fence turned back on and recoded to keep the Foundation people inside.
Yep.
Yep.
I feel like sometimes you just you cram 15 minutes worth of scenes, and then sometimes you're breaking it down scene by scene. So yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay,
I got no color
to give you an
one.
Opportunity to talk about it, but yeah, you're right. There's there's all action, right? This is what I meant when I said this at the beginning. A lot of this is just plot, maneuvering, and action, and not a lot to talk about. The kids coming in through the air vents. You want to talk about air vents and how kids. It would never fit into air vents, and how air vents are an overused trope in every single movie and television show ever. I don't know.
Well, these are vents 15,000 years into the future, so I'm assuming that they're fully traversable by any person that needs to traverse them. I will say that Chia whips ass, man.
Yeah.
Put her back into beating this Anacreon down with her pipe wrench.
Yeah, or whatever she had. Brutal.
Yeah, I'm saying Chia in the detention chamber with the lead pipe. That's who did the murder in the scene.
Yeah. So they free Salvor by beating the Anacreon guard senseless. So we go back to Farah. She's explaining the situation to the Foundation, the people there, where they need their help to repair their ships, and they'll be left alone once it's complete. Otherwise, you all die. The engineers try to refuse, but Farah, starts shooting their loved ones, and they eventually comply. And turns out they have everyone they need.
Yeah. I there's a couple other things about the warship, this Invictus, that I kind of want to wait until the kids wake up Salvor to put all the details we know about it so far. But they do mention, there's we've heard the ship Invictus. Now we've heard that it's an Alte class warship, so it's got guns and a jump drive, which puts it probably in, like that's exclusively Imperial technology as far as we know.
Yeah.
So
and
they're making a power play here.
That's super powerful, right? Here's what needs to happen. If they get on the Invictus and they need, the engineers to help them run it and all that stuff, then they need to just kind of, mess with the stasis pods a little bit. All right, everybody pile into the stasis pods. You got to do this, otherwise your brain will separate from your body. And then, that can be the new vault for them, right? Where they trick them into disabling themselves.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, because they don't know. How would they know? They've never jumped.
No. All right. Dawn visits the garden attendant, Azura, to apologize for how he spoke to her earlier. And he tells her she can leave the flowers that he commanded her to rip out before. And then he goes to meet with Brother Dusk for a hunt, which was supposed to be conducted by Brother Day. And Dawn is quite good at it. His first try, he nails one of these something raptors. This is where the lack of subtitles failed me, because I don't know what these are called.
Turds.
But they might be rat turds, yeah.
I had a little Jim Henson Muppet things. Birds of Paradise, only with lizard mixed in. It's interesting because it seems like Dawn is engaged in like calculated disrespect, like what we saw earlier at the episode with the Zephyr pulling on Empire, with Brother Dusk, because Brother Dusk clearly is taking this opportunity to ingratiate himself with Brother Dawn. He's like the big brother with the little brother, and mom's out of the house, so he's like letting him stay up late and watch porno and eat candy, because he's like, oh, this is the coming of age thing, and it's supposed to be Brother Day, but he's bucking with tradition, so what say we all buck with tradition? But he and it's interesting because there's like little hints throughout this episode of the color blindness thing, like when Brother Dusk says, ignore the color, focus on movement.
Yes.
Well, no wonder, if that's the key, if that's literally the key, then no wonder this guy is so bang up at shooting, because all he can see is the movement. So that's the question I had, is how much of Brother Dawn hiding the extra birds was because he didn't want to give Brother Dusk even a hint as to his condition? And how much of it was he's like, oh, fuck, I already showed the old man up by refusing to let him mold my luck into skill? How much of it is like, oh, I already pissed him off once, or kind of turned it, I can't show him up twice in the same day. It's dangerous to do that.
I think he's hiding more than just his color blindness. I think he's hiding a feeling that he has toward the Empire and his existence in general. And that's demonstrated by what he says about the garden here with Azura. He says it's what a foolish attempt to control the uncontrollable. Where flowers are just going to grow toward the light and whatever. To me, that belies a discontent with the way that the Empire is set up. So
it's weird because that's a playbook out of the previous Brother Dusk's manual that this kid never ever heard, other than with his tiny newborn clone infant ears.
Right. So yeah, presumably there is a bigger rift here that I think is what the episode is getting at. It's not just color blindness. It's not just a genetic drift. It's drift of ideas as well.
Oh yeah, they've done a good job of showing that this latest batch of clones are just not in sync. Like the others butt heads, but they're not even a public face. Can they get the unified voice, the unified gesture, all that? Like there's a hitch in the works.
And he's not feeling it, right? It's not because he's like deficient. It's not because he's colorblind that he's not in lockstep with these other Cleons. It's that he just doesn't care. He's got some kind of mental hang up with whatever with his life, and he just doesn't take it seriously.
Sure.
And I assume we'll find out a lot more about that, especially as he ages into Brother Day and actually gets power here.
And what's he going to treat the next? How's he going to treat the next Brother Dawn?
Right. I mean, what ideas is he going to instill in future? Like here's like the real drift that can happen, right? Is the drift of ideas. I think the genetic stuff is less important. The genetic stuff is almost a red herring here. It's all about the ideas and sure. You know, Harry Seldon is dealing with this on the other side with his, you know, stick to the plan, right?
Yeah. Well, and also like, because I think you're right about the ideas, but like everyone, like, I think this is the show putting its thumb on the side of the scale of something's wrong, something's different. Mm-hmm. Because there's been two kind of like discussions being had by the fans. One, which is this is locked in stasis, nothing is changing. The brother always balks at his death. The new guy versus something's new, something's different. Well, this colorblind thing is a definite new thing. So that gives credence to the ideas being different. Like this isn't growing pains that they all go through as their roles are shifting and stuff. This is a uniquely kind of this of a moment problem the Empire's having.
So now I'm thinking about Brother Dusk's mural that he put above the crib of Brother Dawn. Or I guess, you know, the old Brother Dusk. Did he just accidentally create a nihilist here? Is that what happened? What? Did he see this message of hope and creation and go, yeah, no, you're right, dude. And everything we're doing here is shit. So I just don't care.
Well, it also like, does he even get it? Like, yeah, if he's colorblind, like I didn't even think about that. Yeah. But like he might not even have ever seen the message. Mm-hmm. Because if you've seen any of those colorblind tests, like I can barely make them out, but but like you just like there's numbers and patterns there that you just don't see. They just all look like dots. And in fact, didn't we even make us think like these looked like colorblind tests because stuff was kind of shifting? I remember us making a joke on a podcast. But so like it's entirely possible that the old Brother Darkness came up with a last ditch thing to try to like say something profound about the next generation and have that be in that person's forefront, and it completely was lost.
Yeah, I like that idea. It feels about right. All right, Salvor is dragged into a cave by the kids, or the heating tunnels, and wakes up. Kids ask her about Invictus, and she explains, oh, this is an old ghost ship thing. And they say, well, Farah found it. Salvor's dad and Hugo then find them. And Salvor, says, hey, we're going after the Corvettes, which kind of surprises them. And then she thanks the kids and tells them to stay here.
Yeah, she's suddenly all about her being the central part of the Seldon plan. Without her, it's going to fall to shit. We have to follow my instincts, which probably right. But here's where we get a big, like, if for everyone who hasn't gotten what the show's putting down, the show just outright tells you that this Invictus is a somewhat famous legendary ship that was lost some time ago. It conjures the concept of a ghost ship, a ship that's just drifting out in space. And we know it's a warship, and we know Farah wants it because it seems to me that in an era where the Empire is kind of withdrawing from the peripheral of its border, someone with a jump capable warship would be a real power.
Yeah,
kind of like it reminds me of what the Rocinante is able to get up to in the outer reaches of the solar system. Like they're just a small Corvette gunship, but Mars and Earth are otherwise engaged. There's no real fleet in the belt, so they're kind of like they're a small gun, but they're the biggest one in the space they're operating in. I wonder if there's something, Farah has something similar planned. Does she want revenge against the Empire, or is she trying to carve out her own from the decaying corpse of the Empire that she's living in?
All right, next scene is Brother Day getting the proper welcome he desired in a Luminist ceremony. And Zephyr Galat is beating around the bush about what they need from the Empire. So some dude, I don't even know who this is, takes over and inelegantly says, hey, we need water. So Day loudly declares in front of everyone that to celebrate Galat's ascension, Empire will build a moon-wide desalination plant, and everyone is very pleased.
That's what I'm saying about this. There's a lot of this guy's the ambassador that showed up to announce the Proxima's death and the
he looked familiar. Okay.
But there's a lot of like checkers style political scheming going on in like broad daylight here, you know. What do you need? I don't know. This guy's saying it, and him just like, I'm going to steal Zephyr Halima's whole metaphor. She wants to purify me with her shitty salt water. No. I'm going to purify her shitty salt water with my Imperial desalination tech. So,
right.
And people eat it up. He's like, yeah, these are my. But you also get the feeling that this is a subsection of this particular religious cult that is the one that wants to get in good at the Empire. Like, this isn't the full assembly we see later. This is like a little clique that is very friendly to the Empire.
Except for Halima, who's sitting over in the corner, and he takes a big old gulp of that.
That's true.
Zephyr,
she is there. Yeah, you're right.
Galat's cup, and then looks over at her, which I loved. Kind of throwing shade with his eyes there. I like this stuff. I mean, yes, it happens kind of in the open in front of a bunch of people who have no business, with the political dealings here, but I like it. I like the scene. The small power getting a concession from the large power that just wants to maintain the status quo and sort of using, not threats, but like, hey, we're in a pickle here. We know this is good for you if it goes away, so give us something and it'll go away.
Heavy on the carrot with the, they're not overthinking the stick. The stick's not even out of the bag. They're there's all carrots. Carrots are everybody.
For sure. All right. Salvor's dad can't keep up with Hugo and Salvor, so he hangs back. Salvor hangs back with him, and they talk about her parents' time on Trantor. Tells her it was wonderful, but it was all built on lies and deception, and that he joined the Foundation only because he wanted to bone down her mom. And they arrive at the Anacreon Corvettes, and they scout it out and see they're planting charges that are going to destroy Terminus, or at least the power supply for Terminus. And then Salvor gets up with the intent to steal some charges and use them to take out the Corvettes.
I would kind of like to see some of this Trantorian stuff if they had the budget for it. I want to see the floating whales dancing, and the magic fountains, and all that, because we've really only seen outside of the Imperial walls and gardens. I feel like everything's kind of relatively austere. We haven't seen much beyond the spaceport, and that, of course, he did say that they worked for the spaceport, so their family was well off. Maybe they were part of that opulence. But yeah, I haven't seen the bread and circuses that are distracting everybody from the minions toiling unseen and unheard.
Yeah, Trantor Vegas. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. I think we said that's the what is the Gossamer Court. Yeah. What happens in the Gossamer Court stays in the Gossamer Court, because they're gonna fucking mind wipe you when they're done with you. Jesus.
Yeah.
Fucking got Westworld up here in the Foundation.
Yeah, except with the people. It's even grosser.
What, you're saying the robots on Westworld aren't people? Fucking robust.
I thought some are. Some of them
I thought we moved past this, Jim.
Well, there's a point. There's there's bicameral mind shit, Got to get past a certain threshold. Anyway, Dawn is still hunting expertly. He's actually breaking Dusk's record of 3 by 3. And he takes all those extra ones he killed and throws them in the bushes, and then shows Dusk, look, I tied you on my first attempt. Dusk's impressed and toasts him, and then decides to take him to Gossamer Court, which is a pleasure palace, let's say. And he picks the woman who most resembles the garden attendant, Azura, and takes her to a chamber where they just talk. Then the woman later reports everything he said to Brother Dusk. When does the mind wipe happen? When? Like, so put a mind wipe chamber in every single bed chamber. Like, what are we doing here? Come on.
Well, I wonder, because he said this is all something invented by Cleon the First. And we know Cleon the First kind of had a distrust of his clones. I wonder if this is intended. Like, one of the things you do when you get promoted from Brother Day to Brother Dusk is like, hey, the Gossamer Court is kind of your domain. Like, it's up for you to use this kind of soft power to get the minds of the other emperors, so you can kind of continue to guide him something. Or it could be nefarious. This is something that's relatively unprecedented, and he's just taking the opportunity while Day is away, and no one is there to kind of mind. And clearly this guy's never been to the Gossamer Court before. like spring this on him and take advantage of him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't exactly know. Kind of like when I was first watching this episode, I thought this whole hide the lizard birds was him afraid of really showing up Brother Dusk,
right?
And offending him. But now the more I thought about it, it's more of him trying to hide his secret because he thought the color movement thing would give him away. Which man, his life must be. Do you think the other clones know about this? There's no way.
I don't think so. No.
But it also seems crazy that no one, including Demerzel, has ever figured this out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, hey, hand me the shirt. No, the red shirt. The fucking red shirt. Like, how many times has that happened to him? Brother Day lecturing him about the color and clarity of a glass of wine, and he just kind of not, can't tell red from. I don't know. So yeah, there's a lot of ambiguity about the scheming, which I like. That's good. Like, I don't know what exactly Brother Dusk is up to, other than he's clearly trying to either ingratiate or get some kind of power over Brother Dawn for some purpose that only he knows. I mean, clearly this is all, he got checked hard by Brother Day, and this is kind of like him trying to, there's got to be some element of that, him getting his power back. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we wondered aloud about that when, as soon as Day left and said, hey, I'm going on this trip, right? Yeah. That very next scene, you're like, oh, what's he going to do with Terminus here? Because that seems dangerous. Yeah, as far as when they wipe their minds, it seems like it's when they leave Terminus not Terminus, Trantor, and that might have to do with that 24-hour period that the pleasure lady was talking about with the previous Brother Day. That there is a long line of people waiting to get in to be drafted into Pleasure Palace, and then after 24 hours, they're sent on their way. You also wonder how many people don't make it off the planet. Is there how King Joffrey do people get with some of these men and women who are clearly replaceable? I don't know. It's this is a much darker, more nakedly dark side of the Empire than I was expecting from the show. Yeah, I got a distinct Littlefinger's brothel vibe from this scene where we can cater to any kind of perversion, even the illegal ones. Oh yeah, and also where what's Littlefinger's like? I don't want to call her the bottom bitch, but that's kind of what she is. In that series, Roz. Yeah. Like where every single one of the people in here is like his Roz for 24 hours, right? Right. And then mind wipe them, and they just become whatever people again. So. Yeah, I definitely got that vibe. And I like how, you mentioned this, they're recontextualizing things that we've already seen with the colorblind stuff and all that. I really appreciate when they're able to do that so skillfully. And that's why I'm hesitant to be a little harder on some of the things of the show, because how do I know what's a leap of logic and what is something that's going to be recontextualized or better explained later? Yeah. And they've done it so many times now that I'm inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. All right, we move to Salvor, headed toward the Corvettes, but she then suffers a vision and falls to the ground. The two men move in to save her and destroy the Corvettes. Her dad goes after the Corvettes. Hugo goes to save her. Salvor sees Harry telling Raish that the only way to repair the damage done to Psychohistory's predictions, because he stays with Gale, is for him to kill Harry and send Gale away. Or does he tell him to send Gale away? No, he doesn't. So, and then Raish kills him. And I don't know that this whole thing collapses because he's saying that unless he's trying to talk Raish into doing a modification. So the plan, I think, as Raish understood it, was for Harry to kill himself, to commit suicide. Right. And because Raish and Gale have gotten so close. I see. This is where it's like I don't think and I don't think we're supposed to 100% see this clearly yet. It disrupts because the plan it's possible somehow. That Harry just doesn't trust Raish will do what he needs to do if he continues to allow this. So he makes him kill him so that he knows that there's enough fanaticism that there's no way Raish will be able to survive this ship unless he gets off. Because what he's actually says is, it can't be me that kills myself. You have to do it, and then you have to go right to your cryo ship. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not, whatever you do, talk to Gale. Do not implicate her. So the plan was for him. So Harry's calling an audible of having Raish kill himself or kill Harry instead of Harry kill Harry. And then when Gale walks in, Raish calls an audible and throws her into the pod, which we saw last episode. That's the thing. It's like, what was this designed for? What? Yeah. So like, again, boy, it seems like the whole psychohistory plan is really weeble wobbling here.
And I've been theorizing that maybe Gale is somehow important because she can interpret psychohistory the way that Harry could. And I don't think that's true of Raish. So
no,
if Raish were intended to be in that pod by Harry, then that can't be the plan, right? It can't be important that someone who understands psychohistory end up on Harry's homeworld.
No, I think the opposite. I think Harry intended Gale to be on Terminus and the beneficiary of whatever is in the vault, and Raish doing some mission on Harry's home planet of Helicon that was going to coincide with the first crisis, and these roles being flipped or entirely absent. But the one thing that I don't think that Harry even knew is that maybe Raish and Gale had already conceived a child, which, again, I don't know this to be a fact because this isn't how that goes in the book.
Yeah.
But it seems obvious that like we've got a situation where Salvor Hardin is the love child of Raish and Gale, and she has the same genetic material, or at least close enough to match the vault in some way. But yeah, like there's like two levels of audibles here. Have
they hinted at any of that with Clark Peters and Salvor's mom, like talking about how they're not actually her parents or anything? I can't remember.
Man, they haven't. Not that I can think of.
Because like they would know, right? It's not a case of. But
like I can see, so like
we have a baby and we don't know where it came from, but it's definitely ours.
Nah, they probably need something to establish that. But I imagine how it went is like, well, the mother's gone, and we have this embryo, and they're all precious. We need to populate this as fast as we can. So they're just like, we need a surrogate mother, and then that's I think that's all the explanation.
Or Harry swaps the embryos and the.
Interesting. And then like what happens to Gale? Because I still think like any embryo would be implanted. Like everyone gets implanted. It's viable. So that's maybe okay. Harry did a swaparoo before. Because that's the thing. Like there's going to be. I mean, Harry's hologram flaring up might be some exposition for Gale, but I believe it was in whatever exposition she gets from this hollow simulation of Harry's death was meant for Raish. And that's the thing that unless Harry was so fucking 4-dimensional. 5-head chess that he foresaw that Raish was going to do. Fuck, man, I don't know.
I don't know about that. Yeah, this does raise a lot of questions about what we saw last episode. So because the 4-dimensional 5-head chess is kind of Harry Seldon's whole deal. It's like I can't put it past him. But you're getting really far into simulating individual behavior there. Right.
And you're no longer pulling strings. The puppets are moving on their own, and that's weird.
So after that, Salvor wakes up, and her and Hugo provide a distraction for her father to get in close and try and take out these corvettes, but things go very much sideways. And her dad's forced to sacrifice himself to take out these ships.
Oh, before we go on, Hugo implies in her discussion with her father that this has happened before.
What has happened before?
Her falling to the ground and having a vision.
Yeah, that's true. No, she doesn't fall to the ground when it happens the first time, but she like blanks out, right?
Did that happen in the episode that they introduced Hugo?
Yes. Yeah.
Shit, why don't I not remember that? What's the context?
It's when the Anacrons are first like headed toward the fences or whatever. She's like, running around trying to prep everybody, and she just kind of stares for a second, and she sees Raish as a young child in the library of Harry Seldon.
Oh, right. She was seeing. That's right. And she's seen that same version of that kid. Okay, you're right. She has been seeing these visions. It is pretty like now it's different. Like she is literally in the body of Gale. Like they're deliberately, she's wearing the same kind of weird cryo bikini, tankini. They're very much like trying to put her into the body of Gale, which again, that's I think this episode all but confirms the R plus R plus G equals S.
Okay.
A theory. Yeah, if we go back to Game of Thrones notation, the Raish plus Gale equals Salvor.
Yeah. So when we're seeing these flashbacks, I'm wondering if this is not just like Salvor's connection to the vault. Could it be that this is just a concession they need to make to their storytelling mechanisms? Like, hey, we need somebody here who can get flashbacks. I know, like, we're speculating about, oh, she could be the daughter of Raish and Gale and all this stuff, but it's possible that they are just, they need somebody who has some kind of affinity for this so that they can get these flashbacks in there to tell the story they want to tell. That would be pretty inelegant, and it would be pretty, it wouldn't be something I'd appreciate long term. So I hope that's not the case, but it could be.
And then we also talked about this in the intro, but like, why is the liquefaction of the ground not an overall problem for Terminus?
Right.
And my only thing is, like, if I scroll up, they said that the Anacreons were planning charges next to the vents, and it seemed like they're putting them in like dispersed locations, and this was one instead of all 6 of them going off. And it like, but why did the ground liquefy? Is that an effect of the bomb? Because I understood that like that's over a geothermal vent that it kind of superheated it and it just like, made the magma come out or whatnot.
Could be. Yeah.
But that seems like it could also fuck up their energy harvesting. I don't know.
Yeah. The way I read it, on a kind of meta level, is that this is just better overall for their goals in the moment. Like, yeah, we could sacrifice some of the energy production for the very real goal of stranding these people on this planet. So I don't know, like a greater good sort of thing, right?
What do you think of Father Hardin's last admonition to his daughter? Open your fist, don't fight the wind. Contrasting, like, when he first landed on the planet, his fists were all balled up because he's so angry and he hated the place so much. And, his wife saying, ease up, you can't punch the wind, you can't fight the wind.
Yeah,
Salvor
she's been
like
fighting her nature the whole time, right? So yeah, open up
and
to it.
Resentment about like how her place in the colony and how the colony treats her, and to be more open-handed with people. Maybe even she needs to be more open-handed with the Anacreons. She's got to find a way to make peace with these people who are on her doorstep rather than defeat them. There's a lot of different ways you can interpret that, and I'm wondering which lesson Salvor will take away from it.
And there is a little strange camaraderie developing, or a strange like relationship between Farah and Salvor. Like the end of this episode where she flips the coin, kind of gives her a wry look, and Farah returns it. Like there's something they understand about each other, or respect about each other, at least, right? I
definitely think that there is some respect building for Salvor in the mind of Farah. I don't know if it goes back the other way, or maybe like also I saw a lot of this is like, because that Farah character has a really grim way of smiling, and it might just be the fact her face is so fucked up, but like, when the Empire landed and came into the system and like Terminus is whooping it up, she had that kind of same grim smile on her face. Like it could be and then like, when Salvor was like, I hope this makes you feel better, and she's like, it does feel pretty good to watch you suffer. It could be that she sees Salvor being so motivated by spite and hatred that she is getting a grim enjoyment of molding her into her own shape, Yeah. And maybe that's part of her plan. Like, cause she's still got, her plan is underway. It's not finished. And also I keep going back to like, I don't think Hardin was lying or bluffing when she says to her, this is an end, not a beginning. But to what end? Like, what kind of suicidal thing could she take her family on, or the last remnants of her people on, that would be satisfying at this point? She's going to ram Trantor with a hyperspace ship or something?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because if she does that, she still dooms her people, right? Unless she takes those engineers and repairs all the ships or whatever that they have. But their problem isn't that they don't have ships to work, it's that they don't have the knowledge to use them, right? They don't have the jump drives, that kind of stuff. So
Sure.
She kind of needs these engineers. I don't know. She needs to drop those engineers off on their home world, get them working, and then ram a ship if she's going to do that. But yeah, there's something bigger here. I mean, she could use this jump drive to get her people off of Anacreon, which is dying a slow death.
Sure.
To maybe somewhere more habitable. So then Don invites the attendant Azura up to his bedroom to get a bird's eye view of the garden. Calls her out on the window ledge and tells her his secret, that he's colorblind. And they establish their mutual desire not to murder each other by kissing.
Lures her out onto the King Tommen Memorial jumping window. There's another one like, so the Empire can literally take off his protection and throw it out a window, and there's no alarms that go off, and and also he jumped out of the window and no one knew that happened. I'm surprised that maybe this is what it is to be the Empire. Like, you have the absolute power to even kill yourself. Maybe Cleon didn't see that coming, but I thought it was weird that there's not guards that, like, you know, anytime there's a threat to the Emperor, that people aren't dispatched just to make sure, you know, are you okay, Empire? But they're just left completely alone here.
I mean, they do have these safeguards in place and these rules in place for, you know, unborn clones, right? That's the interesting thing. So they clearly acknowledge that there is a possibility that a Cleon clone will go off track and want to maybe murder a baby clone and bring this whole emperor thing down. But you can accomplish the same goal just by being a brother Dawn who gets disenfranchised and then goes and kills himself, right? Like,
yeah. Or can a brother abdicate the throne? Just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what are the limits? Does the Empire have the power to put himself out of a job?
I assume
and also,
so.
You said there is a rule against them seeing the babies, but like no one stopped them from doing it. Maybe that's Demerzel was down there, like she was going to, like, you know, with the force of her 5-ton punches. Yeah, it was like, just rip him in half like a phone book or something.
Well, that doesn't help the Emperor.
Well, it's his brother Dusk.
True, he's about to be darkness anyway. Get him out of here.
Yeah. Just one day, you got the darkness one day early. Whoop-de-doo, you know.
You get a brother Dawn coming down there though, and you don't want to robot punch him.
I don't know where they're going with this relationship, because from the gardener's perspective, like I see why in the last feedback there's so many people like, oh, she's got to be some kind of nefarious plant, because like, what is this relationship? Them bond, like the way she played it before, like she's like terrified the whole time, like this all disappears, even though you're on a murder suicide, you're fantasizing about how, you know, you could just push me off and silence me forever. You could push me off and, you know, have the whole galaxy come down on you. Let's kiss. Like,
there's a complex psychosexual power dynamic going on here.
Yeah, it's kind of Romeo and Juliet. I think they're leaning on that kind of like young love, and maybe I'm just too fucking old to truck with it anymore, because I'm like, wear your fucking bracelet, you idiot.
I mean, there's an attraction to danger, right? I mean, you know, it's a thing that a lot of women, true. Some women like the bad boys, right? Because they're dangerous, they're unpredictable. Yeah. Whatever reason they like them, that's a thing, and I think it's being shown pretty interestingly here. I don't think it's out of character for either of these people. They both seem pretty young and pretty like she's all twisted up by the danger and the seduction of the power here, right? Like, this is the most powerful man in the galaxy, or soon to be the most powerful man in the galaxy, coming to you, and you don't know if he's there to like kill you or fuck you or what. And there's just it's weird. It's a weird situation. It's got to be scary and attractive at the same time, I would imagine.
Well, they said this is from like 2 official podcasts ago, but they said that the conclusion of this is surprising. And I don't know if we've gotten to they meant by the color blindness or like the ultimate disposition of this plot line. But I'm bracing for twist that curves ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this kid's got a death wish. It's yet to be seen if that can be changed.
It's making a lot more sense now. This isn't just angst. This is like the erasure of the mural.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted because he's different and he doesn't want to, like, to be the man. You got to be a man. Like, he doesn't want to. He doesn't think he can replace the man because he's not a replacement.
Yeah,
he's different in some way.
Does he view himself as inferior? Is that the thing here?
I
the
think
complex?
so, or mistake. Like something has gone wrong.
He's even more unnatural than his natural mutation sort of makes him unnatural in a system that is unnatural in itself.
Sure. And we see, like, that causes a lot of teenagers to take their life when they feel like they don't fit into the system, or they feel like they're not able to be categorized as easily, or they're not meeting up the what society's and their parents' expectations of them. And now you've got that on a galactic scale. So he's making a lot more sense the more to find out about him.
It is. Yeah. Obrecht, I think this is Shadow Master Obrecht, finds the 3 discarded raptors from earlier. Raptors? I don't know. Rat turds.
Bird lizards, yeah.
And he takes them. Which obviously he's now working at the behest of Brother Dusk, I assume. Yes.
I think, but wasn't he working for Day first, or
Dawn first?
No. Dawn sent him there to retrieve it so no one would know. Guaranteed.
Maybe either that or Brother Dusk found out about this, and
I think I'm gonna wag my finger at the show if they're saying that Dusk has co-opted him, and we've not seen any hint of that, because we understand that this guy is kind of Day's creature right now, and him grabbing that and walking out of the scene in full predator mode, I think you're supposed to understand is because how the hell would he know to do that?
Well, he talked
to go to that location.
We don't know what the Pleasure Palace woman and him talked about, the very Azura attendant analog Pleasure Palace person talked about with him.
Do you think there was more talk that we saw? Because I thought she got dismissed from service. There was nothing mentioned about the bird lizards. There's nothing mentioned about the colorblindness stuff. So, like, the only one that knew that the only thing is if the retainer that was with him, I guess the show might be trusting us to assume that Brother Dusk is interrogating everybody from this jaunt, including the guy that was holding his gun that knew where those birds were. But why? Why gather them? The information is what's valuable. The only way to gather them is if you want to conceal them to keep them being to protect. So I still coming down, and I think this is Dawn.
Or if you want to confront him with them, like, hey, I know, if you're gonna blow up his spot.
What is this? You're holding out lizards on me, kid. Right. I thought we're brothers. Brothers don't let sky lizards come between them. Like, what is this? I don't know.
I mean, you try and like hint around it and get him to admit it, but when he won't, you hit him with the
This isn't lizards. Exactly Michael kissing Fredo in Cuba. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
You broke my heart, Don, over this lizard bird situation.
The other interesting thing about this is Obrecht has a personal cloaking field. I don't know if we knew that before.
No.
This is the second time we've seen cloaking technology in the last 2 episodes.
And like I said Predator style, but like better. Like he's just gone, invisible. Yeah. This ain't like, your hokey Halo cloak where you can still tell where people are totally. He's gone.
This gets
pretty cool.
Dangerous. Real quick with storytelling, because literally anyone could be literally anywhere at any time, and that is a powerful tool in the hands of a storyteller. It's also an easy to misuse tool in the hands of a storyteller. And we
talk about this a lot when we're talking about like the Westworld, where anyone can be anyone.
Yes,
anyone can be anyone with a marble in their head. It's like you have to really think about that, because if you pull too many rugs on the audience and like, well, if we can't trust our eyes or ears, it's one thing to do a twist every once in a season or so. But like if it's happening on an episode by episode, I as a viewer kind of tune out. Like, well, shit, why do I even care?
Yeah. And it starts to drive a lot of speculation online that then gets twisted up into insane, truly insane theories.
Yeah.
And that's not the show's fault necessarily, but these are tools that are extraordinarily powerful, and you have to use them sparingly. Else shit just starts to feel like, what's the point, right? I start to become Brother Don, like, I'm colorblind to seeing what the show's doing, so I guess fuck me, I'm gonna jump out of a ledge. Yeah,
jumping out the metaphorical TV watching window.
Right. Salvor is trying to make sense of her father's life and death, and she leans towards blaming herself here. Hugo tries to talk some sense into her, which I guess kind of works because she's immediately off on a plan to get to his ship before they can, before the Anacreons can, in order to strand them on the planet.
Although she's leaning into the revenge, I think Hugo's trying to push her into societal responsibility. Like, sure. you know, this isn't your fault. It's the idiots in the tower that didn't listen to you's fault. Mm-hmm. They need you. You're the only one that can lead them through this crisis versus fuck, I don't care about the crisis. I'm getting Farah. Yeah. And I think that might be one of the reasons Farah's smiling is because it might be a plan for her to get under Hardin's skin in this way or have her identify with her in this way. I don't know. That's a little sub theory I got going on.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how this plays out. I'm kind of excited about it now that they're like off the planet and headed toward, you know, a crisis of sorts. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Then we go back over to the Salt Planet, whose name I'm not even going to try to say because I had no subtitles. Proxima Opals.
It's the Maiden. That's just, they refer to it as the Maiden.
Oh, right. They're on the moon. Yeah.
The Maiden.
Because the planet's called like Sarah or something, like as in Michael Sarah. Something like that. I could barely tell what they were saying.
It's named that because the gaseous cloud bands just kind of look like Michael Sarah's head.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Proxima Opal's funeral is happening, and the sort of the ascension ceremony as well. But it's interrupted by Zephyr Halima, who delivers a speech that both insults Empire and inspires the Luminists, Demerzel included. Holy shit! This is a bad moment. Bad look, Dim. Bad look.
And Empire has no fucking clue what to do, but just stand there with his guns hanging out.
I love it.
I wonder what he does to Demerzel, because he's got to be furious or maybe afraid.
I mean, the look on his face when she bows.
Yeah,
I would be terrified if I were Demerzel and saw that.
The look on her face. See, this is where I'm saying like alarm bells are going off. She already has higher powers. This is
I mean, this does
not good.
Does totally show where her loyalty lies, right? It is not with the Empire. It is with this religion.
And Halima's really pitching it close to the plate here. Like, she calls out the Emperor explicitly. Like,
yes. Oh yeah.
Because I kind of like halfway through the speech, I'm like, I wonder. Because, like, is she kind of giving herself cover where she could be definitely saying it and implying it? But when she says even a soul that started off holy 40 years ago would not be holy today, that's a direct shot across his bow.
It is. You know, it's still veiled, but the veil's so thin, you could pierce it with your finger.
And then she just keeps on like, yeah, the greatest sin against a mother is stagnation. And then you've got the call to action. This is where the insurrection part comes in, where she's like, this is not just your life, but it's your life right now. It's your change right now. It's your duty to do this thing right now.
She's calling for a religious insurrection here, right? I mean, it's
you got one life in this body. Make it count.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I half expected all of her followers to rise up and rush at the Empire with knives drawn. Yeah,
what would
it's
that
that kind
like?
of speech,
How many,
right?
Is that we've wondered what the limits of that barrier technology, and they've never shown it.
Well, the slow stab. I thought the slow stab would work. The Saving Private Ryan lean on you with a knife would work.
Yeah, gathering all around and you just start like the slow step. But I don't know what other than that what the limits are. Because like I thought we were going to get an idea when they assaulted Terminus, but they got around that. So
yeah, can
you brute force the Emperor's shield? There's got to be a reason they showed us that, though, right? The slow knife.
Yeah, seems like it. I'm worried that it's going to be like Obrecht sneaking up behind Dawn and taking him out with his cloaking device, because they've showed us that now.
Yeah. Could be, especially since Dawn. Is he ever going to get his bracelet back? Because unless they show him getting one, like I'm going to assume he has no more the Imperial protection.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on his wrist from here on out. See See what
or
he's
if he's
working
wearing
with.
the big flowery collar thing, the sun god collar.
Yeah. I don't know. This is like the best scene of the episode for me. I really liked what they were doing here, and it all comes down to like the Emperor feeling so impotent. That's my favorite part of the episode.
Zephyr Halim had that kind of like big Alfre Woodard, like truth to power vibes.
Mm-hmm.
This is really taking it to him in a strong personal way.
Oh yeah, there's a fire in her speech here that is typically reserved
might burn the whole galaxy.
Yeah, big speeches. All right, Hugo locks his ship controls so that Salvor is the only one who can control it, so that Farah can't kill her, and Salvor says she can't pilot, so she needs Hugo, so they can't kill him. This stuff all just barely works for me. It's a little tortured.
Yeah, and it's like it felt like things that the show's trying to like, because they're making super huge changes from the book, and they're trying to like, okay, we got to still bend back to the basic arc of this derelict spaceship. So what do we do to get there? And because Farah didn't want Hardin dead. She wanted her to help her unlock the mystery of the vault.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she is so pissed off now that she's lost all of her ships and all of her crew that she's like, fuck this, we're just going to kill her. Like, yeah. They didn't ever say that, but I think that's what happened. She went from we need her to like, fuck it, just kill her. And then they have this kind of like, well, you can't kill her because the ship will, and there's only the one ship. And
the tortured part is Hugo. Like, you're telling me no one here can pilot a ship that
ship,
none of the
ship that's from a
Anacreons.
rival tech. Yeah, because this isn't like a ship from halfway across the galaxies. This is a ship from their neighbor. No one knows how to. Oh no, yeah. Well, but yeah, you're right. Anyone could tell her how to fly it.
I would think so. I don't know. They make it into a little bit of a like Millennium Falcon sort of thing, where like. You gotta like bang on it just right.
Car. You gotta know how.
Yes, yeah. So I don't know. They're trying here, but it doesn't quite work for me.
And I'd say, speaking of Millennium Falcon, Control C, Control V on all. I expected to walk around those padded white corridors and see Chewbacca sitting there playing holo chess.
Yep. Yeah, they really just took a bite out of that. I loved it, though.
This guy, yeah,
that was cool. He's not like a smuggler, but he is a cargo runner.
He is kind of somewhat ill repute. He's definitely Han Solo, and I don't mind when they just lean into that.
Sure. It's a nice contrast to the clean everything that is the rest of the Empire stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Farah uses the people in Terminus as leverage to keep the engineers on task. Salvor's mom asks where her husband is, which we know, of course, he's dead. And I think she figures that out by the end of it. The engineers, the Imperial commander, Hugo, and Salvor are taken aboard Hugo's ship, and they launch toward their destination, which is the Antor Belt. I don't know if this is a real thing. I assume not, but who knows?
I don't either. And it's notable that Hugo's familiar with it because he's been there on mining runs, so he's been there before. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then Hardin flexes on Farah one last time with her coin trick, which amuses Farah.
Yeah, and she's kind of flexing with the launch of the craft too, right? She's never flown a ship before. And so the fact that she can just get coached through it first time, it felt like Dawn blasting bird after bird, right?
Yeah. Although I felt like it was shaky. This to me felt like Lieutenant Savick in Star Trek 2, like taking the Enterprise out of people were sweating about because it did seem like kind of shaky the ways, but she got out of the atmosphere. It's going to be fun. And then, when it showed it like careening over the vault, I was like, she can't keep getting away with this. It's but they didn't. That'd have been hilarious if she just hovered it over there and the field's expanded, bitch.
Yeah. That would have been good. Anyway, that's the end of the episode.
It is the end of the episode, but it's not the end of our coverage because we're going to come back in just a few days with Foundation email feedback. You can send that in to foundation@baldmove.com. Of course, either before or slightly after that, we'll also have our conversation with David S. Goyer, showrunner for Foundation. I'm excited to talk to them. see how that turns out. But yeah, we want to hear from you. foundation@baldmove.com. Send us that, and we'll talk about it on this week's feedback episode, which should come out sometime Tuesday. And that's it. We'll see you back for the next episode. Until then, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Jim.
See you next week.